Hi, Rotary leaders, welcome. I am Jenny Stotts and I volunteer on the 6690 leadership team as our district membership chair. My home club is the Rotary Club of Athens Sunrise in Athens, Ohio. I am glad that you tuned in to hear a little bit more about some exciting and promising practices paving the way to club growth here in Rotary District 6690. I'm thrilled to be interviewing 5 club leaders from around Central and Southeast Ohio who have been successful in welcoming new members into their Rotary clubs. Across our district, we have been joined by 87 new members since the Rotary year began on July 1st. And that is certainly worth celebrating because new members in Rotary translates to an increased capacity to do good in the world. As members across our district have adjusted and grappled with the realities of carrying out service in the middle of a devastating pandemic, we have heard the call to steward our membership so we can sustainably continue our important work for years to come. Many of us are meeting virtually or conducting hybrid meetings. We've canceled public events and we've greatly changed the landscape of our service projects. It would be easy to close up shop and say that we couldn't possibly convince someone to join our organization with everything that's happening right now. But not Rotary District 6690, and certainly not the Rotary members that are on this call today. In our district, we are focusing on growth through sustainable engagement because we know engaged, energetic club members attract more like-minded people to join the ranks. We are preparing to roll out a new member engagement initiative that will create more pathways to connect with new members and build their commitment and an enthusiasm for Rotary. We are working hard to improve our response to Rotary membership leads. We are and we will continue to welcome new members into Rotary here in District 6690. But membership recruitment is not an event. It is a process, and really it's a way of doing business that keeps the doors open for new people, for new perspectives, and for new ideas. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our panelists who have volunteered even more of their time than they already do to speak with me today. We have the president of Cambridge Rotary, Larry Parnell. Their club has excitedly welcomed 5 new members so far in this Rotary year. We have Tom Strasberg, president of Westerville Sunrise, and they have added 4 and nearly 5 members. They have 1 coming down the road. We have Gwen Wolford, president of Circleville Sunrise, and they have successfully welcomed 4 new members into their club since July 1st. We are also joined by membership chair of Athens Sunrise Rotary, Chet Pritchett, and they've added 3 new members this year. And finally, we're joined by the executive director of the Columbus Rotary, Scott Brown, and they have added 5 new members so far, and I hear that there are more coming soon. So let's get right to it and ask our questions. So my first question is for Larry and Gwen. How have you been able to keep your club engaged and energized during this time? Larry, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I appreciate you putting this on, by the way. With our members, we've done 2 things. We have tried to make it a little bit more family focused, as we have found if the spouse attends or the children and they have fun, the members stay more engaged. We moved our changing the guard outside to a pavilion, had a cookout by the members, handed awards out to high school students. They brought their families. Several of our members brought their spouses and their children. Was very successful, and we expect to continue that process. Our meetings, as everybody knows, most clubs have either gone to hybrid or completely online. We've done the same. When we initially went to hybrid, several members reached out to members who could not get on and actually went to the house, added all the apps and showed them how to access a Zoom meeting so that they could, and our number of members who are attending those meetings now have grown, and it's been a lot of fun. The other things we've done in the meeting to stay engaged, we've added a fellowship piece at the beginning of the meeting, 15, 20 minutes, they can talk. That's worked out, and we put them in small rooms so that there's 5 or 6 in each room. We've got a lot of success with that. And during the meeting, we've actually added an icebreaker. So we do something, 2 lies and 2 truths and a lie, or did you hear, and just different games, and it's 10, 15 minutes, and we're getting a lot of positive responses from that. The other thing we're doing, everybody, as Jenny said, is, oh, well, with me, we can't do anything. So we're actually spending a lot of time tracking our volunteer hours inside the club and outside to really show our members we're doing a lot. and to create that motivation and some excitement. We've also changed our service project format. We're now focusing on small projects where that's 4 to 5 people at a time in an hour or 2 hours. Really focused on with the COVID rules. You can't have a lot of people in the same place. So that's working out well. We've been able to come up with a lot of different ideas, book drives, face mask drives, just different things. And we're having a lot of success. And actually the thing we just approved last night in our board meeting, we're now going to take our 3rd Wednesday lunch meeting and make that a service project every month. And it may be 4 at one time because they're all going to be small service projects style. Those are many of the things we're doing, and we're getting a lot of positive responses from our club members.
Great job. And thanks for sharing some of those ideas I hadn't even thought of. So I'm glad that you took the time to share those. And Gwen, I know you're doing great work out in Circleville. Do you want to share?
Sure. Thank you, Jenny. So I think the thing that has really worked for us is consistency. You know, we were all in the habit of showing up at that meeting at the same time every week. And in our case, that was 7 a.m. on Tuesday. We have not had an in-person meeting since the 2nd Tuesday in March. It has since May, early May, we have had a Zoom meeting every week. Our board decided in April that we would not consider meeting in person until our county's status on the state map was at a yellow level. We were only there 1 week since May, so obviously we haven't met, but that gave everybody the expectation and the understanding of you know, what the plan was, and also helped people get in the habit of doing this at the same time, week in and week out, just like they had before. We have a few that don't want to Zoom, and we have worked with those who are willing to work with us. We're trying to stay in touch with the other handful in other kinds of ways, but we're running really just 5 or 6 people fewer on our Zoom meetings than we ran at our in-person meetings before the pandemic. So we're pretty pleased with that kind of turnout. One of the things we have loved is the opportunity to get speakers from anywhere in the world to come into our meetings. And we have had people that otherwise we would never have had the opportunity to hear from. So that's been one of the things that we've seen as a positive to doing it that way. You know, of course, like everybody, we had to get creative in terms of service and that kind of thing. And we transitioned our big fundraiser, which was a pumpkin chili sale, usually done at the Circleville Pumpkin Show, into a drive-through. And in 4 hours, we made a third of what we usually make in 4.5 days. So those kind of things, you know, just really help build a lot of enthusiasm and keep people engaged, which is what we're trying to do. You know, other kinds of service projects have been drop supplies off and small groups of people deliver them to where they're going. For example, our Human Trafficking Coalition, we sponsored bags for 50 survivors for that new group in our community. So just, you know, keep trying to be creative and be consistent, and people will stick with you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. One thing I appreciate about what both of you shared just now is how much it involves engaging with the community beyond your own club, right? Partnering on those projects and keeping people inspired and creating pathways for service. So I think that's a really exciting and really good sustainable way to keep people engaged. My next question is for Chet and Tom. What do you think attracts people to your club? So we'll begin with Chet.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here, Jenny. I think there's a few things that attracts people to the Athens Sunrise Rotary. I think one of the things is that we're really energetic. Our average age is a little bit lower than the general Rotary population worldwide. So we've got a lot of energy. I think the other thing that really draws people to us is we have a very kind of flat leadership approach. And so from the moment you walk in the door, we care about what your thoughts and ideas and plans are. And if you have a service project that you want to champion, find another person and champion it together. I think that's a really strong part of what attracts us. And I think the other thing that attracts people to us is that we have our hands in so many different parts of the community, listening to, you know, Gwen and Larry really knowing people in your community. So whether that's in the nonprofit world, in the business world, in the governmental world, here in Athens, being part of Ohio University and higher education, like, we kind of had people from all around taking part of that. And so I think those are things that make us attractive. The other day I received an email that said, "Hey, we know you're part of Rotary. Can you get some Rotarians to attend, because we really respect, the people and the work that Rotary does. So can you get some Rotarians out to this community meeting?" And so I thought that was a nice little feather in our cap.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. I also, Chet and I are from the same club, so I love the energetic goofballs of Athens Sunrise. So thanks for coming and talking about that. Tom, I'm interested to hear what's going on up in Westerville.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm just such a pleasure to be in this company as well, because I'm even now jotting down notes that we can, potentially use. So this is great energy, and I appreciate it. I think the attraction for people to our club, the main events, our big fundraiser, the Chili Open, and then the Field of Heroes get on people's radar. And then that gets them into the meeting space where, our quirkiness and our energy, Chet, that spoke to me a little bit, because that is contagious. That is the momentum that people want to join. They want to be of service. We join because of the service aspects, but then we stay because of the fellowship. And over the years, we've developed this process of onboarding to make sure this is the right fit for people. But there's a lot of attraction in that momentum. We just have to make sure it's the right kind of fit. So once you get in, you have you start to see the structure behind and the process behind everything, behind the events, behind the meetings, behind all of the creative service and fellowship events that we have as a group. So I think that's really, what attracts people is the energy.
Absolutely, right? Rotary members doing good things, and people want to be a part of that. I think especially this time, people want to be a part of the force for good in our communities. So I'm really grateful for clubs like yours that have created those opportunities and made them so accessible to people. My next question, I'm going to start with Scott and then go to Chet, and that is, how do you welcome guests and or new members to your club? So Scott, we'll start with you at Columbus Rotary.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. And I echo Tom's enthusiasm for being on today. I think I've already started 2 different pages of notes, taking down ideas, and probably that's why this group is successful, because we're always looking for new ideas. One of the things we do at Columbus Rotary, we too have been having Zoom meetings since March on a weekly basis. I open up the platform about 10 or 15 minutes prior to ringing the bell, so that we have that table talk, fellowship time, catching up with one another. We are really good. A couple of my members are really good with spotting people they don't know on Zoom and calling them out by name and saying, "What brings you to us today?" So that gives that guest just a little bit of a spotlight, a little bit of a, oh, they recognize that I'm here today, and I'm special. We do that, we do the same thing during our meetings officially with the president introducing guests, things like that. I think where we are shining recently is we actually have a process for new members, which involves the entire membership committee. We have somewhat, as soon as I get a check and application from someone, I have a member, I think somebody we actually stole from Tom's club. We have a member that calls them within 24 to 48 hours just to introduce them to the club, introduce them to the onboarding process, introduce them, be an immediate resource other than myself and possibly their sponsor. After that person calls, I have another guy who calls and connects them to what we used to call an ambassador, Rotary ambassador, a Rotary mentor. We're now using the word Rotary connector. And so that's the beginning process. Get them connected, introduce them to more people so they have more resources, more people to call, more people to contact. So if they do have questions, and that's really how we get them, I don't want to say engaged, that's how we engage with new members and guests. And then continually reinforcing with them all of our activities, whether they're a member or a guest, they're invited to anything we do. You know, come and shop, window shop before you make that decision if you're a guest, because that's how you're going to show off who you are and what you do, and get them comfortable with saying yes to Rotary.
Great, thank you so much. I think those smart, I call those smart connections or smart introductions, of really making a solid introduction for someone so they can find their way into your club's organization. And Chet, I know that you have launched something new in Athens Sunrise, so I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I feel that we do a really good job of at Athens Sunrise Rotary is getting people in the door, whether that's through you know, a personal connection, following up on some pings that we get from Rotary International, some membership pings. But so we do a really good job of getting people in the door. But what we're not doing a really great job of is stewarding people through that first 6 months to a year of their time as a Rotary member. And so we, you know, COVID obviously has created this kind of need to connect and steward our current members, because not everyone, you know, here in Athens, you know, broadband access is definitely an issue. And so for folks who live outside the city limits, getting on a Zoom call at 7 in the morning can be tough, especially if you've got kids who also need to be utilizing your bandwidth, or other members of your household who need to be getting online for their work day. So it's been tough to see people on a regular basis. And so one of the things that we talked about is creating a program for our new members that we're calling Rotary Pals, and that each new member, so we have our first three folks doing it right now, are matched up with a current member. And the plan is that over those first 3 months that they'll be able to, you know, take the new Rotarian out for coffee, you know, invite them to a meeting or a service project, or we have our Drafts for a Difference, a monthly kind of fellowship and fundraiser, you know, invite them to that. Obviously that's all happening on over Zoom right now, but the hope is that as we progress, that this will turn into a more robust engagement, and hopefully at the same time it will encourage them to show up to those 7 a.m. meetings on Zoom, and allow them to really engage in a different way. And we make sure that the Rotary Pal is also not the person who invited them to Rotary in the beginning. So it helps them kind of get to know more people and have introductions in a different way. And so so we're kind of in the first few months of this program. So hopefully, you know, come back in 6 months, we'll have a little bit more data to see, you know, how this has worked and how new members have felt engaged on this.
Great, thank you. As I've talked to a lot of different clubs across the district, a lot of our organizations are looking into shaking up how they welcome new members and trying out new programs like this. And I think it's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to constantly be changing and adjusting to meet the needs of your new members. So that's wonderful. And I hope people that are viewing this later on will want to connect with some of you and hear a little bit more about some of the projects and programs that you're running. And my next question, however, is for Larry and Gwen. So Larry, what advice do you have for clubs that are struggling to connect with potential members?
Well, the first thing I would say initially is you really have to publicize what you're doing. One of the things we found when we talked to people outside that said, we don't know, we weren't sure what Rotary was doing, and we thought you were focused on international fundraising. So what we realized is we weren't publicizing our local projects as well as we thought we were. So we have implemented a public image program that has helped us let others know what we do at a high level between Facebook, Twitter, and different things, and some email blast. And that's worked out really well. So when we call somebody or we're having coffee, as Chet said, we're talking and they're asking what we're doing, and we seem excited about our service projects. Well, they've heard about it, and they say, hey, we did hear about that. So we realized it was working. We had a 12 Day of Christmas program we do every year. It's our biggest fundraiser that we canceled because of COVID. I was shocked how many people called us in November, December and said, where's the tickets? But so that just says it's working. It helped us get new members. We've, as you said, Jenna, we've got about 5. We have several that are actually in waiting because they're working in hospitals, and they just said, we don't have time right now. Just give us a break till we can get through the COVID. The other thing, the old adage is true. People want to work with people they like, similar beliefs. So we have found that if we reach out to our friends, they want to be with us because they think like we do. They want to give back, and they see the excitement in our eyes. Frankly, when people talk about it, our membership chair is great. I asked her, what do you like about the club? She goes, I just love giving back. She goes, I didn't think I would be this excited all the time. Well, that's when she talks to a member, they're in. They see it, and they bring their children, they bring their spouse. Everybody sees it. So for us, secondly, you got to have a champion. When I joined, Jenny Noser, Joe Sexton, huge champion. We were having some down times. She really focused and got some members to join who were champions, and we grew the champion piece. It is hard to take an introvert and ask them to go find new members. They're not going to do it. So we really have a champion process now, and they're kind of tasked with finding new members because that's what they do. That's what they like to do. And they're talking with those people anyway. So that's really helped us tremendously. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. We try and have on a regular basis a new member social hour, potential new member. So we bring them in. That's actually how we introduce our new members to make it exciting. So they meet a lot of people initially and get to know and feel welcome. It's really our key things that we're trying to do.
Great, thank you. You've made Cambridge Rotary irresistible, right? That's right. People can't help but get involved.
I haven't, but we have a great team.
Well, all of you working together, that's very evident. Gwen, what advice do you have for clubs that are struggling or feeling a little stuck to connect with potential members?
Well, Jenny, I think we've heard so many great ideas. One thing that I've found that really works for us is when we have speakers from our community or people who come to us seeking donations for a cause, those are often potential members. They're already of a service mindset. They're already engaged in the community, and we've had great success, bringing some folks like that into our club. Right now with our ongoing virtual platform, some people think, oh, well, it's not the same, it's not fun. Well, maybe it's not in the same way, but for people who are a little bit intimidated walking into a room of strangers, it's, I think, less intimidating for some of them to, sign into that virtual room and they're just a little box on the screen. So that has worked really well for us. Always introduce any guests that we have, of course, and try to make them feel welcome. But I think our attitude about our meetings is really an important piece of it. It's not what we would do if we had the choice, but considering the situation that we're in, Zoom is a great platform for us. And as long as people are not doing, 6 or 8 Zoom meetings a day at their job, most of them don't seem to mind it. We have some people with true Zoom burnout who have promised me they're joining when we start meeting in person, and I keep trying to rope them in now as well. But, it's a great time to recruit people who might be a little bit uncomfortable walking in the room because they can just be more anonymous on the screen. And it's especially a great time to recruit maybe some younger and tech savvy members We are a relatively small club, but 10% of our membership at this point is 30, 31 and under. And several of those are some of our newbies. So we're very excited about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Gwen. And my final question is going to be for everyone, but Tom, I'm going to start with you because we haven't heard from you in a little bit. And that is, what do you think is the real value of your club or Rotary?
That one is so personal. You know, everybody joins for their own reasons, and they find a community. I always hear that people join Rotary to change the world, you know, and be of service, and only to find that Rotary changes them. You know, that's one of our bumper stickers, right? And this small group of people that, you know, really works together to have an impact is amazing, because we all open up and connect to each other, and then we reach out and connect to others and build this energy. And it's just really an amazing thing. And it's the structure through which we can all, you know, be galvanized and have a local, you know, community impact as well as a global impact. So I think the theme resonates with everyone, or many people on different levels. But it's that personal connection, and everybody has to find that little bit that keeps them coming back. And you do. This is a place where you do find like-minded and like-hearted people, and it's very powerful. So I think that's the avenue is Rotary, and it's the people and the heart that keep people coming back and keep people connected.
Thank you. And Scott, I'd love to hear your answer to this question. What's the value of your club or Rotary?
Yeah, and Tom, you stole my like-minded word that I had written down, but you know, I think that's what it is. It's not only finding these like-minded, as Tom said, like-minded, like-hearted people in your own community that have this passion. They come along for a passion of serving others and a passion of maybe a specific project, and realize there's a whole lot more going on, and there's a whole lot more people that feel the same way they do. I always try to remind people that when they join Rotary, you're not joining the club of however many people you have in your club, the size of your club. There's 1.2 million people around the world. And if anything, Zoom has that are all like-minded and like-hearted. And if anything, Zoom has helped us show that by bringing in those international speakers and international partners, just to show it's not just here in Central Ohio and Southeastern Ohio. It's not just in California, in Germany, in France, and wherever. It's everywhere.
Great, thank you. And now how about Gwen? I'd love to hear what you have in mind.
All right. You know, I echo what everybody has said so far. Our newly elected vice president, I love what she says. Rotary is so much more than I ever knew that it was. And that's so true. So I think the fact that once we get involved, we learn so much about the opportunities for service and for personal growth through Rotary. I also think that it's an important networking tool for people in the community. You know, I think between our two Circleville area clubs, you know, we have the ability to bring a lot of people in the community together, and people know to contact us when they want to educate community leaders about something that's going on. So I think just the whole opportunity for that, along with the fellowship and the personal growth, are huge.
Wonderful, thank you. And Larry, let's go to you.
They've hit 99% of the great topics. Our biggest thing when I interviewed several of my members for this, across the board, it was the experience finding out that they could do so much on small projects, but how much the impact was when we all got together. It was just so much more. And what everybody's doing at different spots. They were just overwhelmed with that. And I think that's where it comes from. And it's the personal growth part of that. We have a lot of people who've been there 20, 30 years, and they're just best friends at this point. So I think the personal experience is huge.
Great. And finally, let's hear from Chet.
Yeah, so I think the value of Rotary for me, you know, I lived out of the area for quite a long time, and so moving back to southeastern Ohio, Rotary was a way for me to kind of get plugged back into the community, as a way to meet, you know, like-minded people, as we've already said, but to also recognize that like Rotarians are change makers. Like, we're the people in our communities who, because we're networked together, and we think both globally and locally, we can bring all of those impacts to bear, when it comes to making change both locally and globally. And so I think that's one really cool aspect of Rotary, and especially Athens Sunrise Rotary, because of all the networks that we're involved in a small town. I think the other value that Rotary brings, is a sense of something bigger. You know, one thing I didn't realize until I became a Rotary member is how many of my friends across the country are actually Rotary members, and none of us actually ever talked about it. And so as I've been able to talk a lot more about being involved in Rotary, you know, friends pop up and will say, joining Rotary was the best thing I ever did. It got me connected, you know, to people outside of my church, or outside of my family, or outside of my business, in really important ways. And so never doubt that connection goes beyond your local club, and stretches out in ways that are unimaginable.
Yeah, I think the real magic of Rotary is when you get multiple Rotary members together and just see what happens. It's really cool, because it just takes one idea, right? One idea from one member, one small group of members, and then, you know, you kind of incubate it within this organization, and then suddenly it's just the reality of something that's really, you know, happening. And I know I often say I have a Rotarian for that. I want a button that says that. You know, if someone's like, I need someone to make a sign, oh, I have a Rotarian for that. Or I'm interested in learning about social work in New Zealand, oh, I have a Rotarian for that. So that's really cool to see how just connected, and how the Rotary makes the world seem really small but really big at the same time, if that makes any sense. That makes sense to Rotary members, I think. So as you can see, engagement, communication, and connection through service are the keys to growing Rotary. And for those of you that are watching, if you felt inspired or motivated by any of the strategies that are shared today, please connect with any of us on the call and brainstorm how you might implement these ideas within your own clubs. And thank you again to Larry, Tom, Gwen, Chet, and Scott for all of the work that you're doing on behalf of Rotary. And be sure to check out all of the resources available on the Rotary International Learning Center, accessible when you log into My Rotary, as well as a number of resources, guides, and helpful information available on our district website, rotary6690.org/maintaining engagement. Thank you everyone for joining today.